Hey everybody, it's Laura with Jot and Tittle Vintage Typewriters, and I'm going to do an updated tutorial today for a 1958 Royal Quiet Deluxe. And so this is after they did the brightly colored Royal Quiet Deluxes, and they've discontinued those, and so now they've gone back into these neutral colors, brown and gray. Honestly, some of them are faded, so you can't tell, is this the crinkle gray or the crinkle tan? I suspect this one is the tan, but but in the right light, sometimes you're like, well, maybe it's not. But I think this is the tan. Anyway, this is a 1958, but even if you have another year, most likely it's going to operate the same way, so you should find this tutorial helpful. So before I actually get into the tutorial, I'll show you the typeface and then also make some recommendations of who might use this typewriter most or best. So here is a typing sample sheet for this particular one, and as you can see, it's a very pretty typeface. It's tiny. I actually need to measure it because it might even be smaller than a 12 CPI, which means character per inch, because this is really small, but it's very readable. And that's what you want. And for those of you who want to do lots of writing, you may want the smaller typeface so that you can get more words to a line, more lines to a page. It's just your personal preference. A lot of people are afraid that the smaller typefaces are harder to read, but that's not necessarily true. It really has to do with the style and how clean and clear and crisp the impressions are. This one is really good. As far as performance, you can see they have the tombstone keys on the Royal Quiet Deluxe here, and sometimes, so I have collected all the colors of the Royal Quiet Deluxe, and I can tell you they're not necessarily my favorite flow in terms of using a typewriter. They can be a little, stiff sometimes, or they just don't flow as well as other typewriters, but I enjoy using them because they have a very creative and whimsy feel to it. This particular model, and it could be based on how well yours was taken care of, I found this one had a really nice flow to it, and with my petite hands, I could actually navigate these keys quite well. So if you love the squared body style of a Royal Quiet Deluxe, you want one that's a little more affordable because those colors are quite pricey because they're much harder to find, then this would be a great option for you. For just about any situation. I would recommend it for active writing because in this case, the flow was quite nice. Now, that will depend on how well your typewriter was taken care of, so I recommend finding somebody in your area to give it a little TLC if it's been sitting in a garage or an attic for a while. But this one did flow very well, and I see no problem in using this for extended writing and it not interrupting your train of thought as well. And with my little tiny hands, I had no problem keeping up with it. So, but obviously everything is personal preference, but a younger person, if somebody came to me and said, hey, I have a high school or a college age student or a 20-something, they're really wanting to get into the typewriters, I might recommend the Royal Quiet Deluxe because it has a very retro feel to it. Obviously, they're from the 50s, and but they still have a little modern flair to it, and they have a very youthful personality, I guess I should say, and very whimsy personality, but they're still just wonderful, useful machines. They hold their value. They're desirable by typewriter users, so that's who I would recommend for a Royal Quiet Deluxe. I think you should just always have one on hand because they're like a classic typewriter. Okay, so now that I've done that talking, let's get into the actual tutorial part, and I'll load this paper back in here. And okay, well, let me start from the back and we'll work our way forward. So You'll see the back plate. The tabs are not showing here because they're going to be up here in the magic margins. But here's your paper holder. You have this will flip back, and then you push and drag for tabs, which these need to be loosened up a little bit, it looks like. So that's where your tabs are. Fold that back open. Magic margins, what you do is you go to where you want your margin. It's already set right here, but let's say I want to move my margin out. So I just press the red lever and push it out and then release. Then if I want to set it maybe closer in, move it to where I want, and then all I need to do is press. You'll hear that click, and that tells you that the margin has been set. That was the left margin. Let's do the right. So the bell will go off just a few spaces before that right margin, and I have it set right here. Again, if I want to go out, I'll just press down the right lever, red lever, move, and then move it out, and that will kind of expand the margin. Now, if I want to go back and maybe bring it in closer, and the bell should ding when I hit this, and it does. So now my margins are much more narrow, okay? And so there's the bell will ding every time you get to the margin. So that's how you do that. To move the carriage, there's a lever right here, and it's behind the roller handle, and it's on either side. You can use one or both. Some people out of habit just automatically push both sides, but you can do either one. And that will move the carriage, automatically moves to the left, because that drawband will pull your carriage to the left. Now, if you have a carriage that's floppy, or it doesn't automatically pull to the left, that means your drawband is broken and you will need professional repair person to work on that for you. Okay, so let's go ahead and load now. So you can load your paper right behind the roller here, which is also called the platen. And just stick it there, and then you don't have to shove it down, just set it there and then turn the roller. Now, if you have trouble feeding the paper, sometimes that means the feeder rollers underneath are flat. If a typewriter's been sitting for years, those feeder rollers can get a flat spot on them, kind of like a tire on a car. If it's been sitting in a field or on a driveway for a really long time, it gets a flat spot. And again, you would need somebody to repair those, and then your paper will feed again. Okay, so this lever right here is going to release the tension on the paper. So let's say I loaded it, and let's say the paper is crooked. That's very common. So you just pull that forward, and then you can adjust and get your paper nice and even, and then re-engage. On the left side here, we have your return handle. Yep, that releases it. So, and then this little lever releases the platen. And what that does is it's really good for variable spacing. So if you use our backing paper, which I am using, what it does is, one, it protects the platen for you. It gives you a smoother typing experience. And two, I designed it using some old typewriter instruction books. I put guidelines on here, and I use mine all the time. So I can see center, I can see my left margin, right margin, and I can see some line spacing. If I want to center my lines, it gives me a good idea where I need to set everything. So let's say I'm trying to get it lined up. See, I've got a line right here, a third way down the page, and I want to line it up just right. That's where this kind of comes in handy, but you always have to remember to re-engage that. And so now it's back to where it was. So every time you hit that return handle, it advances a line, but if you want to change the line selector, it's right here on the left side. So it's on single, there's double, there's triple. Okay, so that is our carriage, and then underneath the carriage on the left side is going to be a carriage lock. So you want to center your carriage and then press that down and then tap. There we go. You just tap your carriage back and forth, and then it'll lock in place. So it's not going to move anywhere. I can't move it. And if you purchase a typewriter, and you get it and you can't get the carriage to move, then look for a carriage lock. It's almost always on the left-hand side near the carriage. And so in this case, you pop it up, you saw it kind of jump, and so now the carriage is free. Okay, so we're going to open the top of the typewriter, and so always be sure to don't mindlessly grab and open that. A lot of typewriters, that's what you do, but not on this one. And if you do that, you're going to bend a metal piece in here, and your top isn't going to stay down, and then you won't be able to type. So right here, you're going to see the logo plate, and all you need to do is press that, and that releases your cover. And you'll notice there's a little tiny metal piece right here. So if you do grab this and pull it up, this is what you're going to bend, and it's not going to hold that down anymore. So, and then when you close it, make sure you hear the snap shut. So let's open that up. Here is your typing basket, your type bars. You have your touch selector, or they call it touch control here, and this determines how hard these type bars strike your paper. So for example, my husband has a very heavy hand. I have a very light hand. We're gonna want a different setting on this. And to be honest, I can't tell much of a difference. But if you do a lot of typing, then you're gonna become extremely sensitive in your fingers, and that's when this probably will come in handy. Otherwise, it's really not going to make any difference for you, because another way to control how hard your type bars strike your paper is with your fingers. And so you can adjust how hard you type. So you don't necessarily need that, but I can see how secretaries use that. Okay, you have your ribbon spools here. And we do have a few typewriter ribbon tutorials if you just go search in the playlist for changing ribbons. Standard spool is black-red combo. Black is on top, red is on bottom. They just pop out super easy like that. You pop it back in. This is a standard universal ribbon. When you put it in, and your hands are going to get really dirty. There's nothing clean about changing out a ribbon. But there is a little guide wire thing here, and you want to make sure that that ribbon goes in there, because mine just came out, and I'm going to have ink on my hands now. So you want to make sure that the ribbon is going down, is, up and around the back, over the top, through the guide wire, through the vibrator. That's what this is called. Back through, again, this guide wire here, over the top, around the back, and underneath. And that's the proper way. Now I'm going to hold this up, and you can take a screenshot or whatever of the vibrator area, so you can see how Rob has threaded that ribbon through. And like I said, this is very messy. And each typewriter threads just a little bit differently, but once you start doing one or two, then you kind of get a feel like you understand the mindset behind it. Okay, when you get to the end of the ribbon on a spool, it's not the end of the ink, you just reverse the direction of that ribbon right here. So let's see, right now it's going this way, and then you flip it and it goes that way. People always comment, well, the ribbons should reverse automatically. That's not necessarily true. It depends on what kind of ribbon you have. If your ribbon has a grommet at the end of the ribbon, it'll trigger an auto reverse, but if it doesn't, it won't. Or sometimes the grommet doesn't catch, and so you always need to know where your manual reversal is. Okay, so back, and that's how you reverse, and you just go back and forth. This ribbon should last you a really long time. Your color selector is right here. Right now it's on red. Let's flip it to black, and then we'll just close that. Let's go down here. You've got your, like I said, these are called tombstone keys because they look like tombstones. And it'll type in lowercase. Then when you shift, it'll type in uppercase. And the thing that always gets me is I forget, because this doesn't do it on the computers. When you have the shift down, it's going to type in the symbols and not in the numbers. So I mess it up every single time. And just because I'm not used to that with all the computer work, even though I use the typewriter a lot, I just don't make that mental shift back and forth. You have your margin release. So unlike a computer, when you get to the end of the line, you have to manually go to the next line. And that's what this return handle is for. And don't be afraid of it. If you've never touched a typewriter, people are like really scared to like, they just kind of do this, but they don't push it hard enough to get to the next line. And then when you do reach your margin, and let's say you're in the middle of a word, so let's try this out. There's my bell saying, hey, you're at the end of your line. Okay, it's gonna stop on me, so I hit margin release. Finish my word, and I can go to the next line. Also, here is your backspace. Backspace does not erase. It's not a delete button. It's just a backspace button. So when you make a mistake, and you will, that's just part of typing, you can X through it. You can do a line through it, dash, whatever you want to do. And people are like, well, that's messy. That's typewriting. So, and you can, I think they still have whiteout and whiteout strips in different places, and you can look into that. A lot of typewriter users do not use it. They just X and dash through it. I'm trying to think of my letter from Tom Hanks. I think there's some mistakes on it. But I've read letters to other people from Tom Hanks, and he includes all his mistakes because that's just part of using the typewriter. And just embrace, I tell people, embrace your mistakes. Okay, and then here's your tab. And you can, I already showed you can adjust those up here. So that is how you use a Royal Quiet Deluxe from 1958. I hope you found this helpful. Thanks for watching. We'll see you around.